did I tell you anything about the nature of
Not a thing, and when I talked to you and we arranged this appointment, I didn't even ask you one thing, so...
I went because I was sort of hesitate to go into it, but the fact remains that it's homosexuality, and I want to change. So I talked with Art about it about a year ago last summer, and when we had a rather long interview, and then he decided that I'd better see someone, but not him, because the relationship was too close. And so, and this is the first I've gotten down to business with it, and I've been thinking about it ever since, and I am confused mentally. I go around in circles. I don't know where to start. And I've looked backwards, just try and find if I could find the causes that would help any. It doesn't seem to, and I don't think I could find it if I wanted to. And about the only thing I figured out was that the important thing is to find out where I stand now and start from where I am now, rather than psychoanalytically or something, go back in the past and try to dig up bones. I don't know.
So the thing you're curious about is that you do want to do something about the
yes, but I don't know
problem, but
I don't know how.
As you tried to think it over, you sort of go round and round in circles. And have come to feel that maybe the most important thing for you is to try to figure out what's true right now, or what's the situation right now. Is that
Yes, sort of, yes, and to start from where I am now rather than to...
I see, rather than...
To go back and try and find a cause or something, and then... you can't go back in the past and eradicate the cause and try and come up with a past solution, shall we say. Of course, that's what I'd always want. That's what I suppose everybody wants, an immediate solution or something, but I don't think it's going to be like that.
That's what you wouldn't mind having, but...
No.
I doubt if you'll find it.
Well, I looked for it in music, and it was the same thing. I mean, I think it's sort of a carryover. I thought there was a key to how to be a good musician. There's no key, of course. You can't read it in a book. It's not.
Did you feel as though in that area, too, you had a tendency to think now...
That there's an immediate solution. There's something that is going to make this thing all clear up and
I find the thing, I'll be a good musician, but gradually I've learned just as...
It's ridiculous. And also I feel that all sorts of things are tied up. I mean, the one thing I found out when I went to Art was that shortly after that interview, which was sort of a catharsis, I gained 10 pounds in a matter of 2 weeks, which gave me something to think about anyway, from the standpoint that probably problems I have in thinking and music and anything else is all tied up. I mean, everything is tied up very closely. Problems with health or something like that. You know? But there's some when Art said something about, he thought that it had crept into my music from the standpoint that I was making mistakes where mistakes shouldn't be made. I mean, he says there's no reason for you to do these things, and I do them still. He says it's a form of self-punishment. Well, I don't know. But then, too, there's this, I think the thing is in the form of a neurosis. I'm afraid to go ahead. I've always been afraid of new things, to go into something entirely new. It carries over a little bit in music. I'm sort of afraid to take up a new piece. I'm afraid when at college, well, further back than that actually, from high school going into college, I was rather afraid to go into the new situation and make all the new adjustments that had to be made. It wasn't so much coming to school down here, though.
But you do feel a kind of characteristic of you that anything new,
It has seemed to have been for a long time, I don't know. Meeting new people, it sort of carries it around. So you have, well, the idea I wanted to give was simply that I'm confused mentally, and I can't think straight. I have no match. You don't have any. That's okay. Thank you.
Okay.
So I also understand that I am the one that has to solve the problem and not you, and yet I sort of want you to do it for me or something. I don't know.
I guess what you're saying is that maybe it's supposed to be that you solve the problem or something, but the thing you really feel is that you would hope very much that I would.
Yeah, that's very close to it. It's amazing, though, indeed. After thinking about this thing for a year and a half, I've come up with nothing that remotely resembles an insight into it. I mean, I just don't. As I said before, it's just been going around in circles. I don't have a very clear perceptive or something.
In other words, I guess you're saying there, I've wrestled and wrestled with this thing, and I don't see a bit more about it, don't understand it a bit better than I did at the outset.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I just don't know how one goes about changing that sort of thing.
Well, it's just a mystery to you as to how a person would make a start in changing himself or in understanding himself.
Yeah, well, I go on dates all the time. Not all the time, but occasionally, because I can be attracted to women, and yet I don't know that it just doesn't seem to be the real thing. I mean, there's no real attraction, and it's sort of forced. And so the solution isn't just to go out all the time. It's some sort of a mental attitude or something. Or a neurosis. Maybe I'm just unwilling to change my subconsciously or something. Unwilling to change. I don't know.
I guess you're saying there you've tried going through the behaviors of being interested in girls, and there's some.
Which you have to do anyway, because society demands it. Which brings to another point, is one of the big reasons for wanting to change is simply society's attitude toward the whole thing. It's an impossible situation. For some people, they like to defy convention, and that's all right for them, but for me, it's not, because, well, there's just such a social stigma attached to the whole thing. You get sort of tired of acting a part for.
So that for you, one of the big reasons for wanting to change is the social attitude toward homosexuality.
Yeah, that's one of them. And another reason is simply that I don't think that it's a rewarding, or it just is not a very happy relationship. At least what I've known that it isn't. And also, I look at when I get older, the picture changes. I mean, when you're young, it's one thing. When you're old, it's horrible. The 40-ish and 50-ish men you see on the streets, it's just horrible. And I don't want to be like that.
So you feel it isn't in itself fully satisfying now, but even
it will be even less so later.
Weighty is the fact that as you look ahead, you don't like that at all.
And from what I see of of course I have an entirely different perspective on the ordinarily heterosexual relationships in my age group, and from what I see of them, they're satisfactory, although there's an awful lot of nonsense that goes on there that I think is sort of stupid, but that has the approval of society, for one thing, and still it seems to be a workable, more workable, more satisfying relationship all the way through. Of course, then there's a physiological element, which is simply, who was it? Gide tried to justify it. It just can't be justified. It's silly. But that's outside the realm of my experience, so I don't know.
Yes, I sort of get the feeling that you're saying there are various cultural and intellectual considerations on this. But that several of those are outside the realm of your own experience.
It's a very loaded, just to use the word, it's a very loaded word, because when you say that you're queer, it automatically sets you apart. You lose your individuality immediately, and you become one of a horrible group. I mean, they say they're abnormal people, but they're really not. They are, but they aren't. They're perfectly ordinary in every other respect. Although their sexual outlook, of course, colors their outlook on everything else, and they'll be different from other normal people.
But you feel that when you're labeled homosexual, then it's as though you're no longer a person at all.
I don't know. That's why I don't like to use the word, because you lose your name, you lose everything. I mean, it's just...
That label really destroys you as a person and just puts you in a class.
Puts you in a class that's not accepted. It's not honest. But I myself haven't been put in that category ever, because I've always been acting a part. I've never had any homosexual associates, really. But yet when you hear people talking, you always make the connection mentally. Of course, they don't know they're talking about you, but maybe it's me that puts myself in the class alone, I don't know.
But at least you're saying other people haven't put you in that category. It's just the realization within you of what that would mean.
The only reason they don't is because they don't know, but they would. Except for a very rare few.
That is the feeling, though, that if they really knew, then they would put me in this awful, disapproved of class.
That is, with a lot of them, certainly with the family, it's true. With a lot of my friends, it's true. With some of them, it isn't true at all. Well, I don't know where to go on. It's I go in cycles of times when I'm more attracted to women, sometimes almost entirely heterosexual in outlook. That happened at the school I was before I came down here. But for a short while, but then I always sort of lapse back into it. I don't know why. But it isn't, maybe it's a retreat or something, I don't know. Or an escape, I don't know.
That's the kind of thing you don't understand. All you're quite sure of is that your feelings do change to some degree from time to time. It is that there have been periods when you felt quite strongly heterosexual in interest. And other times when, I guess it feels to you a little bit as though it was a going back or something like that.
Well, this is just too much. Why do I bother? That sort of thing hits me when walking down the street or something. I just give up.
What am I going to do all this effort for?
Yeah, what is the use? And then it's mostly entirely mental. I mean, it has nothing to do with relationships or everything. It's just sort of a... But of course, to lots of people, they say, well, that's absolute nonsense. You're not homosexual. You don't act it. You don't go around with men. You're not. But it's the mental attitude. I mean, it's ridiculous.
But you feel, yes, it's true that this doesn't have too much to do with what goes on outwardly in my relationships. It's something within me.
Yeah, it's for those people that concede it. It's evidenced outwardly by a certain lack of sincerity, maybe, or something. A lack of. It's just, as I say, it's an act, and it gets to be an act which I put on, I guess, for society, and it gets to be drag because it takes a lot of energy. I mean, you have to be...
It's hard to keep putting on an act.
You think of... you always have to be thinking about not what you would ordinarily do, what you would naturally do, but what you would... What is the accepted thing to do, and you have to do that.
Feel in a sense that you're always following a fairly involved script.
Yeah. Whereas motivation is the one thing, and on the other hand is the purely insincere actions that have no real basis in my personality. I mean, there's nothing.
Mm-hmm. Sort of as though you are going in one direction, but this act that you can put on is going off in another direction.
Sometimes they come together, and sometimes they go further and further apart. When they go further apart, I think I stop dating, and never thought of that. I have all sorts of devices for escaping. I go to movies, I read books, I do all sorts of things that are... Yeah.